Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Royce Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3. J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Pastor Juanita Montemore from Diamond Hills United Methodist Church. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Heavenly Father, dear God, activate our faith and our love in you today. Bless all the people that surround us, especially those we try to help. We ask that you may bless our nation and our city of Fort Worth, and that all that we may do may bring honor to you. We ask that you may bless the judge and all the people that are trying to help him, that your blessing and your protection may be with us today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Pastor Juanita. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, just several announcements. First of all, as it relates to the agenda, you'll note that we do have a work session today, and we're going to go into closed session first and come back out to do the work session. I believe we'll probably be able to start the work session around 12 o'clock. So we've got a fairly light court this morning, and we'll get you into closed and then back out. Work session should last somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour. Also, members of the court, I would like to remind you that we are the host court for the West Texas County Judges and Commissioners Association Conference, which is going to be held in Fort Worth beginning next Tuesday, the 25th, and running through March 28th. And we have activities planned. Looks like we have somewhere around 250 elected officials. When you add the spouses and the vendors, it looks like we have close to 600 people that will be attending this conference. So that'll start just some exhibitions and things on Tuesday, and then the heart of the meeting and the kickoff is on beginning Wednesday. So with that, Your Honor, that's all we have this morning.
Thank you. You have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of March the 11th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr.
Your
Manius?
Honor, before you get to the regular agenda, I'd like to introduce some guests, if I might.
You bet.
The young ladies of the Empress Academy of the Fort Worth chapter of Links Incorporated are here to witness their county government in action. Ladies, if you would stand, along with your chaperones, guides, mentors. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Glad y'all were able to make it out. I also, I guess, report that I got a couple. Wait a minute. See, give him a chance to, like Tina, give him a chance to get a little exercise. Commissioner Fickus did call today, and he is doing well. He's physical therapy started. He's got someone coming out to the house a couple of times a week, and he got a doctor's appointment, I think, next week. But he said he's feeling great, feeling better, and is anxious to get back to court. He said something about maybe showing up on April the 1st, and I told him if he did, I was going to club him. It's real important that he not get around anybody who's got anything at this point in time, and so hopefully he'll not try to come back too fast, and we'll wait till May or June 1st after the flu season, the allergy season, and every other season has kind of gotten by us. But again, he passes along his regards and says he's missing, but watching on streaming video when we have it. And with that, I'll call on Mr. Manius to.
We are streaming this morning. Thank you, Your Honor, members of the court. We have 3 items for the court this morning under the administrator's section. The first one, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a memorandum of oil and gas lease and an agreement between Tarrant County and XTO Energy. This is for 1.44 acres. It's the Anderson Sub Courthouse. We've received a 25% royalty on this and a signing bonus of $13,312.66. We're requesting approval.
Let me ask a question about that. I read in the paper, I think this morning, that those gas leases are up to $25,000 an acre.
Yes, sir.
Why are we getting $13,000?
Because those that are receiving anywhere from $22,000 to $25,000 an acre are large tracts, and this is not quite 1.5 acres. And also, the competition for these smaller tracts is not near as great as the larger tracts. A lot of times, a lot of the properties already been bought up in these areas, and you have very few people who actually bid on this because it's controlled by a single oil company, and they already have a drill site, and so they are meeting our minimum quotes, and so that's why we're seeing some smaller ones. I will tell you that we're bringing the resource connection in within a couple of weeks. That's a totally different one because it's 100 acres. It's a much larger tract, and our signing bonus on that should be about $1.5 million.
How much an acre?
A little over $15,000.
Well, there's still big lots between 15 and 25. I don't know how they're getting 25, but anyway, that's what the paper said.
What they're and I read that article also. What they're doing, they're putting different communities together. I believe that particular tract is about 1,000 acres, if I read correctly. So that's the problem right there.
I followed this market pretty closely, and this is a good price for what we're selling. So I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 2, this is another request to approve a memorandum of oil and gas lease and agreement with XTO Energy. This is for 7.9 acres. It's the Green Bay property. Quite frankly, on this particular piece of property, it's sandwiched in between the railroad tracks, and the railroad company has already sold their mineral leases, and we're basically an island out there again. And so what this is a 25% royalty. The signing bonus, because it's a little larger acreage, it's $76,874. That equates to about $9,711 per acre.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the court approve an order with a request to Allied Waste North America Incorporated and its subsidiaries and affiliates project. What this does, it authorizes the county judge to execute a certificate approving the local portion of the tax-exempt industrial bond financing for Allied Waste North America, Inc. Through the Mission Economic Development Corporation. It designates a hearing officer for a public hearing and authorizes the county judge to execute a certificate approving the public hearing. Let me explain this just a moment. Mission Economic Development Corporation is the one who's actually issuing the bonds. They're from Mission, Texas. It's for Allied Waste North America. Those bonds are about $189 million in total. because there is some work that's going to be done in the county on the Allied Waste sites. About $12.1 million. There's a requirement that they get approval to do that, also to hold these public hearings. We have a letter from them on our hub policy. This is more to allow them to receive the tax-exempt financing. It does not obligate the county to either support their debt or to pledge any type of asset of the county toward this.
So long as you have a letter from them agreeing to abide by our HUD policy, I don't have a problem with it.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Tidwell?
This morning, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court receive and file the Terry County financial statements for the 4 months ended January 31st, 2008.
Move. Second.
Have a motion and a second to receive and file the financial statements. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Phillips?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's requested that Commissioners Court authorize Tarrant County staff to conduct negotiations with Jacobs Carter Burgess for architectural services related to the 2006 Capital Improvement Program for the Medical Examiner's Office project.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
It is requested that Commissioners Court authorize Tarrant County staff to conduct negotiations with Thomas S. Byrne for construction management services related to the 2006 Capital Improvement Program for the Medical Examiner's Office project.
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would that be appropriate to say that those are as a result of a work session? It isn't the first time we've seen this.
Yes, the court heard the short list of the construction management firms and architectural firms the Facilities Management and Purchasing Department recommended, and the court selected these firms.
Thank you. Ms. Glenn?
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
Almost made it.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith? Whoop.
This is a new Mr. Smith, J.T. Thompson.
JT.
Morning, Your Honor and Commissioners. We're seeking approval of amendments to SAP contract purchase and/or trade of SAP license for compliance purposes and approved projects. These projects are part of the eGov initiative.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
At
Speech.
some point in the near future, we need a report to the court on our various e-government initiatives. I think you would be amazed.
I'd love to have that. I see Mr. Manius scribbling as we talk. Yes, sir.
Morning.
How are you?
Fine. We have, Your Honor, other members of the court, we have 4 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation in regards to bid number 2008-073. This is a bid for the purchase and installation of replacement trash compactors. Recommendation would be toward the low bidder, Waste Management, amount of $34,633.40.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-054. This is an annual contract for temporary health care personnel for the Health Department. Recommendation will be toward a per enterprise basis, awarding Group 1, which are the radiology professionals, to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown on your court communique. Group 2, which are the RNs and LVNs, to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 3 is another bid award recommendation for RFP number 2008-062. This is an RFP for, which is also an annual contract for drug and alcohol testing for HR. Recommendation would be to award to Fleet Screen Ltd. If approved, we're also seeking contract approval from the court.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last number 4 is also a bid award recommendation for bid number 2008-071. This is a bid for structured cabling installation for the 6th and 7th floors of the Plaza building. Recommendation would be to award the low bidder, ComNet Communications LLC, amount of $118,352.52. Also asking for approval for either an add or a deduct in the amount of $248.51 for additional or stations or work to be taken away if necessary. We are seeking contract approval if approved and acceptance of the performance of the payment bond.
Is there conduit in that building for these, or they haven't installed the conduit too?
David, I'm not sure about that.
$248.51 is pretty expensive for pulling a wire.
Commissioner, most of this will actually be under the floor, and it will not be in conduit. It will be in bundles and wire mold tracks.
Did that help?
No.
Well, it didn't help me, so I was hoping that it helped you.
No.
Well, it is what it is. I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
I do understand what they're saying.
Jack, hold on just a second. Let me ask you, and this was probably more wrapped up on number 1, but we've talked a lot about our green building, and we've talked about the vehicles and all of that stuff, and I know we're kind of getting ready for budget, but and that's the reason I'm kind of asking you. As you go about, like, for example, these trash compactors with waste management, what, if anything, are we writing into our specs now to ask our vendors if they're complying with recycling or, green development or, in our vehicle stuff for the hybrids? And we've talked a lot about the green building, and I'm glad to see our architects here for the jail or for the medical examiner's office, because I think we talked about that as we went through the process. But I think we've spent a lot of time talking about it. I'm not sure we've actually implemented anything, and I don't know how we're coordinating all of this right now.
I can give you a couple answers. I'll give you a partial answer to your question. We're in the process of writing specifications for pickup trucks and vans, which will go out early in June. In that particular bid document, there will be specifications for hybrid vehicles as well as ULEV vehicles, which we've had for quite some time. The hybrid is new. They're now more available than they've been in the past, more readily available from the manufacturers. Our office supply contract, we have a specific section geared just to recycle office supply products. If you choose to purchase supplies for your office, there is an entire section that are just from or recycled office supply products. We capture those dollars every year. We've been doing that for several years, and can tell you whenever you want to know exactly how much we spend on recycled products like that.
Can I have some clarification on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do the different offices that make the request for the products have an option of going with the recycled? Or the
Oh, yes, exactly.
Okay.
And they're considerably cheaper also.
As regards the waste management bid, certainly waste management is a leader in recycling. It seems to me, though, that the biggest pollution opportunity with this particular contract and others like it is the idling of the diesel motors on the trucks while they are lifting that container and dumping it into the bed of their trucks. And in fact, I've seen them have to race the motor to get enough power to the lift in order to get the container up to empty it. So that's a big air pollution opportunity.
We also had a memo that went out, an email that went out last week. Commissioner Johnson asked several months back what our availability was for biodiesel. We have sources available, which I've gotten response from all the precincts. We can now purchase biodiesel from the City of Fort Worth's fuel contract. So we're on the edge. Probably we can certainly take a closer look at all our contracts and be sure that the verbiage is appropriate. We are aware of what we're trying to do, and we would certainly be happy to do that.
We also need to know what the shelf life of that type fuel is, because I understand it's very short. And if we're going to be putting it in our tanks, we need to make sure we know what we're doing.
Certainly.
You know, and I think that really does bring up a good point, because as we're talking about all of this stuff, even with the lead buildings, one of the things that, at least it's my understanding, it's one thing to build a lead building. If we don't have folks who know how then to operate that and to take advantage of what we've built, we may end up, have a lead building, but we're not getting the benefits from it because we're not operating. Same thing with, it's kind of like with the maintenance. We've got a maintenance contract, but as our maintenance vendor, actually, are we requiring them to use, more green or more recyclable type of materials and cleaning and different things along that type of lines? It's kind of tying it together between you and purchasing, facilities, transportation, budget, and then, as you said earlier, if I have a choice, then I may or may not decide to go with the recycled materials. It would seem to me like that we are to be more along the lines of recycled materials will be your choice unless there is some, unless there's an exception to why it shouldn't be.
Judge, I think you make excellent points. And this court is just beginning to talk about green policies. But we don't have a green policy for Tarrant County. It's time that we put together a group to write a set of green policies and to monitor and evaluate our progress toward meeting those goals. Right now, we've just got a bunch of ad hoc little directives to various departments, and none of it is coordinated, and none of it fits into an overall county policy. I think it's time you appointed a committee to put that together.
And I'll be glad to do that. And what I might do, Commissioner Van Ravensway, I know this has long been a passion of yours from that standpoint. And again, I think it's something that we all have concerns about. And maybe what I would ask you to do is to think a little bit about it. And it may be that each one of us has a different area that we might like to explore. Or we may just say no, take care of it. But maybe some thought given on that, and then let's talk with our various departments. But I know we're beginning to move into our budget season, and I think that that's something that we may want to say as we go through this. Anytime you're looking at capital expenditures or you're looking at that, how are you considering a green policy or a more environmentally friendly policy as we go through the process?
Our Southeast Sub Courthouse will be a LEED certified building. Part of that, you have to have points to get to that point where you're a silver rated project. Part of our points requirements is green building products, the janitorial supplies and such, and how we maintain the property. We'll need to maintain the property over time. They're going to come back and check us in 1 year and 2 years, which is part of the commissioning process. So we're going to take that project and use it as a model, because it'll be our first LEED project.
Now, Northwest is also going to be a...
Yes, that's our plan. And Southeast will come online first. We'll develop some of our maintenance and operational protocols and products and things on that project and try to spread those throughout our other properties.
And something we're pleased with, we've had the cooperation. It's been a little bit slower going, but it was something that Facilities was committed to do for us, and I appreciate your efforts. And I look forward to our first review and second review and having this in all of our capital improvements, because it is the way of the future, and if we're not part of it, then we're not the leaders that we should be.
At the risk of putting too fine a point on it, we're not going to reach green goals unless we have a green policy. And right now, we don't have one.
Yeah, I think we've got to work, I think you're exactly right, and that would be part of what I think we're looking for. But I would just encourage everybody as they start their budget process and as we begin to look at the policies, as we begin to send out new bids now, if they don't have something in there about, working and requiring, it may be to the point to where instead of just looking at the lowest price, one of the criteria may be is how is your business working toward, being more environmentally conscious. And that may be a criteria that we use and begin to use to evaluate in addition to just is your price the lowest price. And I don't think unless we specify that, we can evaluate that.
I think it would be interesting to see what the percentage of purchases have been to this point. You said you could bring back the dollar amount.
Sure.
I think it would be interesting to see if we have the choice, how well we've done with that choice, because it may be that we have to say, there is no choice, this is the way it's
We have a
done.
quarterly update with our contract vendor, Corporate Express. I think we have about 61 entities piggybacking off that contract right now, which is why our prices are as good as they are, but we can get that information readily, no problem at all. Our choice would be to make that the only choice.
I think that's
And I think that's
that could
right.
happen.
But, that may extend to the point that I was, looking at. Apparently, recycled paper has some consequence to the copiers. So, maybe that means as we begin to look at copiers, there's a play in making sure that those copiers are ones that can deal with recycled paper. So I think there's a lot of consequences down the line that we need to look at, and it's just kind of everybody embracing it as opposed to just talking about it. So we've got time. We're fixing to start our process. It's something that I think that we can really try to make a genuine effort to get a policy, as Commissioner Brooks was saying, and kind of going from there.
There are some of the cities that have been working on it as well in Tarrant County, and I think it would be beneficial to us to take a look at what they've got. We may choose to do something different, but I think that would be a starting point.
NACO can also provide us with a model policy.
Yeah. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Are there any appointments today? Not appearing. Then you have before you the claims register, including the addendum.
Approval of claims including the addendum.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. There's no other discussion. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items.
Your Honor, we are going to be going into a work session after closed dealing with two of the capital improvement projects in the 2006 campaign. So we do not have anything at this time relating to that. I would remind you, I think you have an audience participation form.
Yes, we do. This time I'll call on Suzette Is it Watkins? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. And if you would, please give us your name and your address.
Suzette Watkins, 1801 Beaumar Avenue, Fort Worth, 76103. Good morning. I own a business out in the neighborhoods of East Lancaster and Riverside. And about a year ago, one of the stores, A1 Food Mart at 1801 East Lancaster, had applied for a renewal of their alcohol beer license. And several of us businesses protested the renewal of that license. And we were successful in the court at preventing the renewal of that license because we're trying to get the neighborhood cleaned up. And the owner reapplied this year for a license. I don't know, the license get technical, but he applied for another license. And none of the protestants except one were notified of the meeting, except we were notified the day before that Friday that the court hearing would take place on Monday morning. So I called someone in your office because I talked to Judge Sprinkle, and he said that your office handles it. So I talked to a lady, and she said that there was a lead protestant, Lewis McBee, Eastside Sector Alliance, that was supposed to inform everyone. And I asked how all that happened, and from what I understand, Lewis appointed himself, and Eastside Sector Alliance was given the lead protester title. So I'm here to find out what the purpose of that is. How is the lead protester declared? Are they necessary? If so, why? Who makes sure that they do what they're supposed to do? And what are the consequences for them if they don't do what they were supposed to do? Because there were several of us businesses that had no idea the hearing was taking place, and now they have their beer license again. And some of us, like me, whose business is right there, had pictures and witness reports and everything that perhaps could have made a difference in the case. So I'm just here to find out what the lead protestant is. And
Ms. Watkins, because this didn't appear on our agenda, we're precluded by law from really being able to respond to you today. What I would suggest is that you see Mr. Manius, and he can talk with you a little bit about that. And if we can't clarify that to your satisfaction, then what we can do is we can go ahead and put it on the agenda for a subsequent meeting and can address it in a more formal type of a setting from that standpoint.
okay, I appreciate it. Thank
You
you.
bet. Thank you. If there's nothing else, then the Commissioners Court will now recess the open session and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under Sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code. recess. We don't have anything to,
Your Honor, we don't have anything that we had discussed previously in closed, nor the district attorney's item. If we could move now to the work session. As you know, we are in the process of looking for project management people or companies as it relates to both the construction of the new jail and also the construction of the medical examiner's office. Phillips is here to address the court at this time.
Good afternoon. Staff is requesting that the court evaluate and rank project management firms related to the 2006 capital improvement program, medical examiners, and jail projects. The purpose to engage one of these two firms today would be to augment facilities management staff to meet the rising need of workload regarding project management in upcoming years. And number two is to provide the knowledge, skills, and depth of a firm that's experienced in these type of projects. It will bring that kind of experience, depth, and knowledge to the department. What we're going to ask you to do is, here is your evaluation sheet. We're doing it just a little different this time. We're going to ask you to rank them 1 and 2, 1 being the best. And let me read that here. Please rank the firms first and second with your choice of the best firm for the project receiving the first. Now, also, to kind of show you of how this fits into our overall project management approach for facilities management, we have a project management organizational chart. This chart, court, has been built on since Clay Passley presented a analysis, a facilities management department analysis to the court back in December of '06. We have built upon this particular organizational structure. I have circled in green this particular box regarding the project management for the jail and medical examiner's office. If you'll bear with me just a minute, I'd like to explain what we've done since our last presentation to court regarding project management. It's up here on this corner, and it says what we have done since Commissioner's Court briefing in October 2007. What we've done since then is hire an in-house project coordinator, which the court funded in 2006. We've engaged Jacob Carter Burgess to assist scheduling with scheduling and document control procedures. That's specifically for my benefit to keep a handle on the schedule and cost of over the $290 million of projects we'll be managing over the next few years. Also, which is a big feature, is the Tarrant County Budget Office has assumed the cost accounting for these projects and will integrate into the schedule and overall cash flow analysis for these projects. Previously, facilities management staff was doing that, so that relieved a great burden off our department. Also, the last one is we have completed our design standards manual, and it is now on the Tarrant County website for architects, engineers, other consultants, and other vendors to take a look and see how we do business.
This in-house project coordinator, is that the same as this new project manager position?
No, sir.
Where do we find this?
The next one under remaining schedule items on that same.
I mean, on
I'm
the
sorry.
org chart. Where?
It'll be right here under D. Engel. It says D. Engel Project Coordinator. It's under the box Project Controls and Administration.
Okay.
The remaining items we have to complete this particular project management approach is to engage a project management firm for the medical examiners and jail projects. And then we're going to request an additional full-time position in the fiscal year FY09 budget to assist our current project management staff to deliver some of these projects. Also, members of the court, I have... Yes.
All these things that you're doing require the purchase of certain things, right? And
Yes.
Does the purchasing department, our purchasing department, do that for you?
Yes, they work with hiring the professional services, and also they work with the construction managers. When we do it, like in the Southeast Sub Courthouse, they work with the construction management team, and they will work with the project manager to buy out these particular materials and services for your project. So we go through the purchasing department for purchases. That may be a short answer for that. Also, we put together a little timeline. It's a little simplified from what we've provided in the past. It's a little 8.5 by 11 sheet here. I have circled in green, the project management firm's responsibilities regarding the medical examiners and jail projects. If you'll look up on the other ones, the top box is Tracy Pelley's project, and she, over the next 7 years, she will be handling approximately 5 projects and well over $100 million. J.D. Lammons will handle the smaller projects, $20 million and down over the next several years. And what's not listed on this particular timeline is I don't really have a good feel for the timeline for any Northeast expansion project. I don't, also the Southeast Subcourthouse existing property, I'm not sure of the scope and timeline for that one, but I did at least list it on the bottom. Also, the court has directed us to take a look at a records management center, and we probably will hold off on that maybe for another year or so till we get some of these other things done. And some of the other projects are listed. Do you have any questions of me before we start our presentations?
Not so much that. I guess one of the things that I would think that we need to look at, I know we're trying to manage a lot of stuff, and we're very cognizant of the costs and and what effect it has on the tax rate. But with the way building costs, construction costs have been going up over the last several years, the longer we wait, if we delay the records, or if we delay the parking garage, or if we delay some of these other things, what we may lose, or what we may save in one thing, we may lose in just inflation and in additional construction costs. So I think we need to be very much aware of that as we talk about delaying things for one reason or another. Cost on construction, I know from a highway standpoint, it's been going up 10 or 15% a year. So we've not really saved anything by delaying stuff.
Yes, sir. We'll bring back to you during our budget cycle in our capital improvement program, we'll have some of these projects listed and discuss them further. Right now, I'd like to introduce Jim Broadus with Broadus & Associates. He's teamed with KAI out of Dallas, and they're our first project management firm. Jim?
Thank you, David. Judge, Commissioners, it's a real pleasure to be here today. We've been we submitted for this some time back, and we really are honored to be able to present to you and present to our team. With me today, I have our Vice President for the Dallas-Fort Worth area and lead project manager on this job is Greg Williamson, Westmoreland. We have Darren James with KAI, our Vice President with KAI, and Bruce Wood with KAI out of St. Louis. Just a little bit about our firm and our background, which I have displayed on the slides here now. Kind of starts with my background, actually. I'm a native Texan, University of Texas graduate. I spent 20 years in the Navy Seabee, Civil Engineer Corps, but managing projects throughout that time period, at that time on behalf of the U.S. Navy. After I got out, I finished my last degree and became the Director of Construction for the University of Texas system, and for several years during the 90s led the UT system program, and certainly got familiar with the DFW area and UT Arlington and other institutions up in this area running that program. In 2000, what's that?
Notice your time.
Oh yes, ma'am. I think we're in the South Regional, I believe. But at any rate, that's
first time ever.
That's right. But at any rate, in 2000, I started my firm. We focused on project management. I spent my career in the shoes of people like David, working on the owner side in project management, and we took that to the private sector. We now have $2.6 billion in projects that we're managing. We have 85 people in the firm. We provide full-service project management, also planning, but we also do facility planning. We have a very owner-oriented approach. The average experience of our professionals, such as Greg and many others in the firms that we'll introduce you to, is 25 years per person. So we have a very senior group of people. Project management is our business. We focus on innovative best practices, and we're very locally focused, hands-on firm, but we have a national perspective. And now I'd like to introduce Darren James to talk about KAI.
Good morning. I'm Darren James with KAI Texas. Greg is going to go over my resume a little bit later, but a little bit of my background is I was Assistant Director of Construction and University Architect for Texas Women's University, so I understand what it's like to be in David's shoes and understand what it is to answer to the owner's perspective. On the other side, I'm an architect, so I understand from a design perspective as well. KAI is a 27-year-old firm. We primarily do design and build. We have architecture and MEP in-house as well as construction professionals. And our construction professionals aren't architects or engineers that have a desire to be program or project managers or construction supervisors. These individuals that have 20 to 30 years worth of construction experience. So we understand this market extremely well. We've been in business since 1980. We've been in North Texas since 1999. We are currently fortunate and blessed to work for Tarrant County on an IDIQ on the design side, and we look forward to working with you to bring forward the medical examiners as well as the jail projects. Our unique experience are we've done a lot of civic and justice facilities, very similar to the program that you're working with, and that's what we bring to the table. Broadus brings the medical examiners, and we bring the justice, as well as the owner's agent and staff augmentation that our staff is currently doing for Barnes Jewish Christian Hospital in the St. Louis area, as well as the University of Missouri-Columbia system. So we understand what it's like to be on both sides of the table, and we bring that unique perspective to this team. And we thank you for having the opportunity to present today.
Thank you, Darren. Darren and I go back. We when Darren was at TWU, we were doing the TWU campus in Houston, and a $36 million project. And so working with Darren is a real pleasure. We look forward to working with him again. Let me go through some of the projects that we are highlighting here. We'll flip through these, but I think it does point out our experience. Right now we're finishing up the Charles River Laboratory project in Reno, Nevada. It's a private sector company that does research for pharmaceutical companies, $168 million. Our construction manager on that happens to be Gil Bain, which I know is also doing work for the county and also involved in these projects. Charles River was so happy with that work that they gave us another project in Frederick, Maryland. Normally we wouldn't go to places like as far away as Frederick, Maryland, but our client took us there, and this is a $30 million project in Frederick, Maryland, also a laboratory research project. Let's see, next slide. Here, whoops. Okay. The next slide is Southwest Research Institute. Southwest Research Institute is one of our clients that we've done multiple projects for. Our biggest project for them was Applied Physics Laboratory project, about $26 million. We've done about $50 million in other work. Any capital project done at Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio is accomplished by our firm over the last 3 or 4 years. But we have, and of course, all of their work tends to be research. This is the UT Medical Branch at Galveston, the Galveston National Laboratory. This is funded by the National Institute of Health. It's a $160 million biosafety level 4 lab. Biosafety level 4 is the highest level of biosafety in the country. It's a bioterrorism lab, post 9/11. Funded at UTMB, and we're just finishing up that project. Very complex project. We also built several other projects at UTMB Galveston through our firm. One of those was the initial biosafety level 4 lab there that was a $25 million project. For MD Anderson Cancer Center, they have 2 remote sites, one in Smithville, Texas, the other in Bastrop. And we're doing major expansions in both places. In this case, it's about a $20 million expansion. At Bastrop is about a $50 million expansion, all laboratory-related work. Back at UT Medical Branch Galveston, we had some other BSL 2 and 3 expansions for research facilities, totaling about $40 million. and these are two of the projects. They were renovations of existing buildings to provide that. And then, of course, in healthcare, we do a lot of work in healthcare. MD Anderson, we do all the major projects for MD Anderson. I mentioned working with Darren on the Texas Women's University Institute of Health Sciences. And in Houston, we are working for Memorial Hermann. We're working for Texas Children's Hospital. It's not listed there, as well as I mentioned, MD Anderson Cancer Center. We want to go over some civil and municipal projects, and I want to introduce Bruce Wood of KI to talk about those projects.
Thanks, Jim. I want to take just a couple of minutes to go over 2 or 3 of the KAI jail/detention type projects, similar to what you have going on here. The first is the new City Justice Center for the City of St. Louis. As you can see on your screen, it was a $74 million facility which replaced the former jail, which was built in early 1900s and was in dire need of being replaced. It's about a 280,000 square foot facility with 6 levels, 730 beds for the inmates. There was a similarity to your project. It does have a bridge to an existing courthouse, which I understand possibly Sky Bridge will be incorporated on this project as well. And it was designed to fit in with the local historic setting of some buildings such as the St. Louis City Hall. The next project on your screen is the Dallas Youth Village. It's about a $25 million facility with 90 beds. It's a youth detention facility. Dallas County is the client on that project. Our scope of work included thus far a needs assessment, evaluation of the existing facilities, including the physical assessment of the buildings themselves, as well as the functional uses of what's going on now as opposed to what's going on in the future. We also provided cost estimating services, and we've just finished the programming and the study, and we're getting ready to move into the design phase of this project. The third project is the St. Louis County Justice Center. It was a $200 million facility for St. Louis County. It was about a 500,000 square feet with about 1,200 beds. It was an 8-level facility with an underground tunnel that went under the street to the existing courthouse. This was built in downtown Clayton, which was a business district. It was a very tight and constrained site. We also have some other projects that aren't up here. We're working on Chillicothe Women's Prison as a design-build project. We're doing the design on that with Dunn Construction up in Missouri. We've done some things for some suburban communities, Richmond Heights up in St. Louis on their jail facility, as well as St. Charles County Government Center, which is up again in St. Louis, which was a jail facility as well as a courthouse and administrative buildings. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jim.
Thanks. We, too, have been involved in municipal projects and jail projects. Right now, we finished in the Williamson County Historic Courthouse restoration, but prior to that, we did a $50 million, our first project, one of our first projects as a firm, was a $50 million courthouse expansion and jail expansion in Williamson County. Judge John Derfler was our client. He was the county judge at the time. This particular project was a really key project for us. It involved expanded the jail to about 1,500 beds. It had beds of all sorts of security levels, kitchen facilities, medical facilities, dental facilities. Had an underground tunnel between the new facility and the courthouse, and so it was an incredibly good design-build project that worked out for Williamson County. In addition to that was a parking garage.
So is that upper part, is that the Justice Center or is that the jail?
Yeah, you're looking at the upper part is the Justice Center, yes, sir, and the lower photo is and the center is the jail And that's, those doors are the sally port.
And then the right is the parking garage?
And the right is the parking garage.
Too bad the facade that is so attractive is not for the jail.
Well, actually, that works in the context of that particular area, because in this particular, the Justice Center, this is kind of a boundary between downtown Georgetown and the neighborhoods. And so what you're seeing there in the upper rendering is the face to the neighborhoods. The other face was more to a sort of a commercial area and kind of a background area. But at any rate, this particular project, and one of the things I think is really important about all these projects, and it helps from the project manager really understands the types of facilities and all the uniqueness that goes into a facility. You think about, value engineering or something, or looking at ways to cut costs in a criminal justice facility. Well, I mean, there are so many unique aspects to it. I mean, to protect the safety of the prisoners as well as the safety of others, you have to be very careful when you have those kind of decisions. And so, as a result, this experience has been very valuable to us. We've also been involved in other civic projects. The City of McAllen, we were overseeing their convention center, which is about a $55 million project, and completed. And then we also have been working in a bunch of building and rebuilding in Katrina down in Gulfport, Mississippi, and Pass Christian. You see the municipal buildings there for City of Pass Christian. We did a design build for the City of Lakeway in the Austin area, and fire stations and other civic-related projects. I want to talk a little bit about our team and the value added by program management, and then we'll open it up for questions. I think that I don't need to repeat probably what David has said to you over the past few weeks and months about the function of owner-oriented project management, how critical it is to the entire team process, and it is really a team that gets these projects accomplished. I've listed here on this matrix a few functions that maybe you don't think about necessarily as the types of things that are important in program and project management and in controlling the costs. I know the biggest issue in this day and age is the inflation that's going on in construction and keeping that under control. And, you can't just lay that at the feet of the architect or the engineer or the contractor or even the owner. It's a team effort to keep it down. And so we're very involved in that through all phases of the project by controlling the scope up front and really knowing where the costs are going. There's many other issues that our folks get involved in. And one of the things that I'm going to invite Greg up here is to introduce you to the team of people that will be working on this particular project. So, Greg.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having us today. As Jim said, my name is Greg Westmoreland, and I'll be your lead project manager on the project as we're selected. And I want to go through some of the things that Jim said. He showed you a slide that brought a lot of value of a project management firm being involved in your project and some of the things we do. But I want to show you the team that would bring those values to the project. If you see Tarrant County Facility, which would be David's team, and we spoke about how we would become an augmented part. If it'll come up for me. There we go. Augmented part of David's staff. And I like to go through my scenario as the Verizon guy, and hopefully they don't catch me and get a trademark issue with me. But I would be one individual within David's staff, but behind me we would have Darren.
Wait. Don't jump over your lead credentials.
Okay,
That's
yes,
important.
sir. I am a lead accredited professional, and we have another lead accredited professional in the company as well, who's much more of an expert than I am, but I am one of the two in the company. And on my resume, I highlight that a little bit more. As I said, I would be more the lead person on the project. Darren James would be with me, but we like to look at ourselves as the Verizon commercial, where you have one person working for you within your staff, but behind them is resources as you need them. Some of the resources, as they'll come up, you see we have Hyde Griffith, who's research laboratory specialist, estimating, constructability, lab design review with Richard Long. Mara Landy is web-based PM services, construction inspectors. We can go through Ed Lee, which was on the Williamson County project that Jim spoke about as a jail specialist, Bruce Wood, who you've met earlier today, jail specialist, Jack Judy estimating, and on down. So just because you've hired a firm doesn't mean we're trying to add an extra layer or replace anyone. We want to become part of the staff to bring all these resources through one person instead of just hiring one individual that wouldn't have the expertise to follow behind him. That's my resume, and we can pause on the lead. I am a lead accredited professional in the construction business. I've been working in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for many years. My specialty is laboratory facilities, which is why I'm in the lead position right now, because I understand that that's the next project that's coming up and is going to need the resources. Darren as well has been, many of you know Darren, but his resume, he's been at the Dallas market for many years and the Fort Worth market doing different projects, the municipal facilities. The next slide is a slide that we like to bring out that shows the value of a project management firm coming in early, as we would be on the medical examiner's lab if we're successful, where we have an influence when the cost is at the least to influence the project to come out the best. We can look at it when it's in the project planning phase and master planning, preliminary design, make changes then when the cost is minimal, versus later on down the road when the construction starts and you don't have as much opportunity. That's one of the benefits a project management firm brings. And this slide shows the proof of that. This is historically what we've seen as we come into it, a savings, and we won't go through the complete graph on it, but it shows that if you come in early enough and do your due diligence and bring all the resources that you have to a project, you actually save your fee and bring the cost down of the overall project.
So, don't go off that one too quick.
Yes, sir.
You're going to cost me $1.3 million. How are you going to save me that money?
Well, we would start out earlier in the design, looking at the design, seeing if there's a better way of reducing the would The last resort would be value engineering, looking at the administrative functions of it, see if we can bring a reduction of that and efficiencies. We've done that. One of my projects, the Charles River Lab project, it's a $168 million project. When I got on the project, it was up towards $175 million. So we worked within the project, looked at the different parameters, reduced some scope, brought in other options, other ways to do it, scheduling, sequencing, so we could bring it in a little ahead of time, save on general conditions.
So tell me why my architects and my construction people shouldn't be able to do that without y'all.
Jim would answer this question better than me, but I'll go ahead. That goes into play with the different roles, because a project management firm isn't the construction manager or the architect. We don't have the same vested interest in what's going on, and we have an outside expertise that brings that to it. A construction manager who is working for you, but his directive and his goal is different. It's to build the project and get that built. The architect sometimes would protect their design and look at it from a different aspect than someone, a third party, who doesn't have a stake in either of those situations.
So when y'all have these differences, how are you going to resolve them? How are you going to push the architect or the construction person to either do it faster or to do it differently to save me my money?
That is the art of project management, as you just defined it. You have to work with both, and Gilbane, who is on the jail, we've worked with many, many times. I'm working with them right now on a project, and that's the exact thing we went through. You work with the architect as a team. You have to bring everybody in as a team for the best solution for the owner. It's not, I never create an adversarial relationship with any of them. It's just, this is for the owner, show them the best way to do it, bring each person to the table, and go from there.
Let me also add to this, Greg, because it does get down to specifics, Judge. When it's all a part of the process, and it's important, what really costs projects a lot of money is uncertainty and predictability, and things that are surprises. And so different techniques work at different stages of the game. First and foremost, you have to have good cost information through the whole project. You got to be able to estimate the job conceptually as well as through the detail phases. We provide estimating in addition to the estimating you might get from the contractor in the process, but you have to also realize many times the contractor has to protect that GMP. They have a financial interest in the job, and therefore you need that independent estimate. And it's not like it's one versus the other. It's more like he does his number, we do our number, then we compare and we see where those differences are. Though the examination of differences always brings information forward. Another item besides just estimating and good cost information throughout is a little technique we have called the Project Definition Rating Index. And early in the design of a project, basically through design development, we have this 64-point examination of a project that we do as a team exercise. We get everybody from the team involved, and we go through these 64 different elements of the project, examining it from some of the real basic fundamental stuff like what are we doing this for in the first place, and overall objectives down to, your architectural design, your mechanical systems, your electrical systems, how well those have all been defined. What you find when you go through this day-long drill, examining all 64 points with the whole team, is you expose areas that haven't really been addressed. And projects are complicated. There are a lot of different people involved. And so what this does is it brings to you not only kind of a numerical rating for a project, but also a list of action items that need to be addressed early on. He showed that influence curve where you're high in that influence curve and you can still make changes and adjustments before they become costly changes and adjustments. So I think it's all about keeping your eye on the cost and the budget early on, and making sure that you're covering the entire scope of work and predicting that cost. That's absolutely critical to it. And it's a challenge these days because of the cost escalation that we're experiencing.
Do you do contract where you're the contractor and actually do the building?
No, sir.
So you're always just a project manager.
We're the project manager. We do have we do have a lot of association and with contracting firms, and we even have a subsidiary design build firm that does some industrial work. But Broadus and Associates is focused on project management. KAI has some at-risk work.
We do have some at-risk work. The other thing that I wanted to piggyback on the last answer was communication. You communicate your goals throughout, and that's our job, is to make sure that as owner's representative, as staff augmentation, is to make sure that those goals are met and communicated through every part and every team member. And as Bruce can say, we do have some at-risk construction, so we understand that parameter as well as being on the design side. So we bring all those sensitivities too, and we can look at it and communicate to the various entities in the languages that they understand best to understand your goals, and to look at, how do we save this project? How do we make sure that we time, materials, and quality?
And on those jobs that you're at-risk managers, how many of those have project managers?
How many?
The size projects we're doing, they don't have project managers on them. Our largest project is about a $14 million project, and
which is about the size of our medical examiner's office.
It doesn't have a project manager. It is overseen by, it's federally funded, so I've got an agency that MHDC that comes in and does their inspections and does meet with us on a regular basis on our construction costs and such.
I expected one of you guys to say that as the owner's representative, you would be in a better position to resolve conflicts because you wield the stick of the owner.
Well, we did.
Was that too indelicate for these presentations?
Well, no, I think that we certainly like a project to function as a team, but as your representative, we do wield the stick when we need to wield the stick.
And I'll be very honest, the struggle that I'm having is that in all the situations, the contractors or the architects that we've dealt with on many different facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes right down to knowing the county, I'm not sure that they're not as aware of or has worked with the county and has a better feel for what the county's looking for or what our county goals are than anyone else, not just y'all from that standpoint. And sometimes it just seems like we're injecting a third cat into the litter to try to herd.
What we're proposing is more of a seamless extension of the staff, so that we're not injected as a third party, that we function as a member of David Phillips' staff on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, except that I'm not paying anybody on David Phillips' staff $1.3 million.
Well, over how many years, sir?
Well, I mean, this program here shows that medical examiner in the jails of 48 is supposed to end in 2012. That's a 48-month program, including 5 months of this year. So I just kind of looked at it from that standpoint.
Let me bring up a couple items. One of them is we have been able to clearly justify our existence on the project from the standpoint of even our formal constructability program. Like, for example, constructability is a program where you track the savings on a project that have been identified, and you identify ideas to create a more cost-effective design. If you look at the organization chart that was presented to you, we've got a lot of people who have a lot of experience with these types of facilities, okay? And one of our hopes was to provide, as a part of our services, the input at strategic times during the project of those folks who have that research lab experience, who have the jail experiences and things like that, because there are definitely ways to save dollars in the process. Those dollars can actually be quantified, and I've always told people that if I can't save my fee, and sometimes many times over, in the savings that are identified, then I'm not doing our job. And that's one of the advantages, quite frankly, of hiring a program management team that has expertise in these kinds of facilities.
And that was the reason I was asking that question. I mean, I would really, I mean, you've mentioned some things in general, but you feel like on all the projects you've been involved with that you've paid for yourself?
Yes, sir. Oh, absolutely. We wouldn't be doing our job if we weren't.
And how are you going to identify those things to us as we go forward into this project?
Well, on many projects and many owners require it, and I get the feeling that you would like to require that as well, would be a value-added log. We track the savings and present those to the owner through the course of the project, and we'd be pleased to do that on this particular project for you as well.
Thank you.
So.
In our previous relationship, we actually asked for that more informally, but we were able to track the cost savings based on that Texas Women's University job in Houston.
Yeah, when he was at TW, he had the same questions for me, and that turned out to be an outstanding project. Let me tell you about that project. It's an interesting project. It's a nursing school project for Texas Women's University
in Houston,
in
300 miles from our primary office in Denton, and we needed an extension of our staff.
I don't know if you ever go down, but it's right between Fannin and Maine along Holcomb there. You can see the big TWU logo. It's a brand new building. That project was built, and again, it was bid about 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
It was built at $134 a square foot. Okay.
206,000 square feet.
And my old alma mater, University of Texas system, built a nursing school building right down the street for $250 a square foot. Okay, I mean, and this is what we did on that project was we brought some very private sector oriented ideas to that project, and we got a lot of value of it. People don't, a lot of times they don't believe these huge differences in numbers, but when you really get the team working together on practical ways to build things, you can create value, and that's what we try to create.
Thank you.
So,
Any
other questions?
Yeah, would you just describe for the record the relationship between Broadus and KAI?
Well, on this particular project, we're the prime firm on the project, and KI is our major subconsultant partner on the project. Did you get that right? You got it right. Okay.
Emphasis on the word partner.
Sir?
Emphasis on the word partner.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
When we first started pursuing this project, it was Darren and I got together and said, let's go after this together. So we've been partners on it since the initial.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're used to that, Commissioner. We're quite used to that concept and do it on many, many projects, so.
Any project that we do in the area, Darren's usually our first choice to go after with.
In the pricing part of your deal, is that, I saw some just general terms in regards to that, but are you looking at somewhat of a monthly amount, and regardless, I mean, whatever people that requires, that's what it requires?
That's what we're going towards now, but as the projects ramp up, that may not be necessary for a monthly rate. And I've spoken to Clarence and David on this briefly, that we're open to a daily rate if you just have a budget to review. I could just come in for a day, or if it's 2 days, 3 days a week as we ramp up. But more pointed to your question, yes, that brings all the services behind us for that same rate.
When you get into the actual construction, what is your impression of what your requirements at the site will be, and when we actually begin to break dirt and start building?
On the site, it would be one project manager, which initially would be myself, and then Darren and myself. If I'm bringing another project manager full-time that has more construction expertise at the time, Darren and I will still come to all the meetings and keep up with the events and participate that way.
So we have the jail and the medical examiners going off at the same time. Is there going to be somebody from your organization at both locations whenever there's construction going on?
That's what we would recommend. As we've started this process, the medical examiner's lab was ahead of the jail, and then the jail moved up, and so it depends how they came out. At one time, they were back-to-back, so we've looked at different scenarios, but we would recommend someone on each project at the same time.
I think, a lot of times that representative on the project helps expedite the process because of the, issues arise and things need to be dealt with. And so the quicker those are resolved, usually the better it is for everyone.
Better for the project.
Yep.
Any other questions? Y'all have any closing, or are you?
Well, I would just like to thank you for this opportunity. I know the lead was mentioned several times in this. I have two colleagues that were not able to make it because of the flight delays coming out of Austin. But one of those gentlemen is Bob Morose. Bob has a lot of healthcare and laboratory experience, but he also is LEED certified and helped write the Green Guide for Healthcare, which is a national publication. So we have that expertise. The other gentleman was Ed Lee, and Ed was he was our lead guy on the Williamson County Jail project, and has a lot of experience in jails, especially as they relate to codes and other issues related to that particular project. So they unfortunately they weren't able to make it, but we do appreciate the opportunity to hopefully work for Tarrant County. It would just be a real honor for us to do that, and we would be glad to serve you in whatever way we can. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Try to stay dry.
Your Honor, we could take a 5-minute recess.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to introduce Vicki Dickerson with the Projects Group. Welcome.
Good afternoon. And
Good afternoon, Vic.
thank you so much for this opportunity to come and present the Projects Group to you today. It's quite an honor for us to be here before you, and that we hope that we can answer some of your questions about who we are and what we do. So with that, they've given us 15 minutes, so we better get started. Who we are. We're a Fort Worth-based project management firm with nationwide experience. We're located 2 blocks away from this facility. We are a hub certified woman-owned business here in the state of Texas, and we do have our certifications in North Texas as well. What we do is we specialize particularly in complex public projects that have highly technical facilities. What we now, most of our projects now are all LEED certified or going for their LEED certification, so it's an important part of our business. We're a multidisciplined firm with a multitude of in-house capabilities. Some of those include, we have architects on staff, we have interior designers, we have construction managers, we have property managers. What that means is that we bring that experience, somebody else with another set of eyes that just lends another expertise to a project. We work as a team, and so therefore if somebody has a question on one of their projects, we get together and we try to see what solution ideas we may have so that we can bring more than one idea to the table. Again, we do a wide range of projects type, including institutional and publicly funded projects across the country. I'd like now to, introduce myself and tell you a little bit about myself. I am the principal of the firm. I'm the president and CEO. I have over 30 years' experience managing technical and projects, and 20 years here in Fort Worth managing projects here in Tarrant County. I've brought with me Alra Reeves, who would be the principal in charge on this project. Alra is vice president of our firm and also a partner. He is a registered architect with 32 years of experience and 10 years in Fort Worth. He does have hospital and lab experience. And the project manager that we have are suggesting for this project is Matt Snellgrove. And he has 15 years experience in project management, planning, and operations, and specifically laboratory experience. All of us are currently working or have certified LEED projects currently, so that's a very important part of our business. The next issue was, why should you hire a project manager? Because we're fully focused on your issues and your objectives, and we have no other agenda. We sell no other services besides just owner's representation. How can we best serve you and get you the best value for your dollar? We work as an extension of your staff to integrate with it and augment it, any capabilities that your staff has. So we work as a team with your team. We bring additional knowledge, resources, and an unbiased perspective to the decision-making process. We always try to anticipate and help resolve any conflicts that may occur on a project between the consultants, the contractor, the vendors, and the owner's best interest. Again, we focus our attention on quality, budget, and schedule.
My name is Alra, A-L-R-A. Anything close I'll answer to if you have questions. What we do, project management is, as Vicki said, is our only business. Our proposal to you today is a direct response to your RFP, where we propose someone who can come as an extension of your staff to work very closely with all of you. Although, as Vicki mentioned, we have a very broad depth of capability beyond that should you need it. As we're talking today, we're specifically proposing Matt as a project manager, but he'll have the backup 2 blocks away of all of our staff. We do projects in a way differently than perhaps some of the very large project management firms, in that our goal, our whole business model is set up years ago when Vicki and I put the company together, with the notion of us coming alongside an owner, understanding what each specific owner needs as support service, rather than selling a canned product. We tailor our services to fit exactly what the needs of that owner or client group are. And consequently, then we can help them develop a team and then lead that team to the right solutions because we do it in a more partnering way, perhaps. A little bit about some of the projects that we've done. Start a little bit with local experience. As Vicki said, we're 2 blocks away. Some of these projects you will know. Oh, skipped a slide. It's hidden here, but I'll go on. We did the Bass Performance Hall. You've all seen it as you've driven by. That's a very complex project, a lot of different consultants on board, a lot of different issues from acoustics to the HVAC needs to sound systems. We've done most of the work in Sundance Square over the last 20 years. You see a variety of project types there. We've managed all of those. In the Will Rogers District, we did the Science and History Museum that we're working on right now. It's under construction. We did the National Cowgirl Museum. Again, those have a lot of very complex building systems as well as exhibit systems. It takes a lot of coordination with multiple consultants. We're working on LEED certification on the Science and History Museum. And then downtown we did the Sid Richardson Museum locally. And here's this slide. Will Rogers District, we've been engaged by all of the museums in the Will Rogers District as well as the city of Fort Worth to work on a comprehensive plan for this entire area, leading up to and including eventually a new arena for the city. Our role in that is to take all of those diverse interests, make sure the stakeholders all are well represented, and we develop a comprehensive plan that fits all of those. As a new project, we're doing the Science and History Museum now, but just down the road we're working with the Botanical Research Institute of Texas to develop a new project there. Again, they have a massive collection of specimens, high quality control, high environmental controls, a lot of the same things that we would see even in lab buildings. We have medical experience. Right now we're working with Tarrant County College District on their entire allied health program, which includes nursing and dental hygiene and the labs that go along with it, EMT labs. We're also working with them on biology and chemistry labs, creating new facilities, all current code compliant. In addition, past experience, I've done some work on acute care hospitals. As HKS, as an architect, I worked on a 136-bed acute care hospital down in Kleberg. Did all the construction drawings, did all the code work on that. Laboratories and research facilities. We have, in addition to what we just mentioned at TCCD, Matt particularly has worked at SMU, 20,000 square foot renovation. There was a lab renovation there in chemistry and biology labs. Matt was also in the facilities management group at Columbia University in New York. In that, he was involved in the planning and design portion and programming in all of a over $200 million multidiscipline science building. That include biomedical labs, biochemistry, organic chemistry, as well as the other sciences.
Is that on the main campus at Morningside Heights?
It's on the northwest. It was called the Northwest Science Center. It's right on the northwest corner. It was built over the existing gymnasium, tennis court, right between the chemistry and physics building.
In TCCD, we're working on all the other campuses. There's some science wings that have new chemistry and biology labs with all the hoods. There's some medical science labs in some of them where they're being renovated where they are before they move. In addition, we've done other higher tech jobs. Digital Switch, where Vicki worked before, we've involved in all the clean rooms and research facilities there, so we understand how that works. Very quickly then, to round out our project experience, we do a huge variety of projects. All of them, we come alongside the owner, understand what their needs are, help them put the right team together, and then try to address their needs as a group. Thank you. And we'll let Matt talk about details how we serve things.
Well, I'm Matthew Snellgrove. Thank you. First thing I want to talk about is how we serve you, our approach, and our methodology. How we serve you, we are client-focused and treat your project as if it's our own. I will be like a staff extension to Tarrant County. I will work in that group as if I'm an employee of the county. Our other staff is specifically selected to provide specialists in each type of project. That's what Aura and the projects group will bring. We will establish clear communications as a key to successful collaborative teamwork. I understand communication is a priority, and that's what will lead to a successful project in the end. We'll focus on the design and planning to ensure that there's minimal impact before construction starts, because that's the point in the process of when changes and planning will have the greatest impact in savings on the project. The projects group has administrative tools for cost tracking, project information documentation, approval processes, and payment procedures, and that will be while working with the Tarrant County and whatever processes and procedures that they have within their organization. We'll monitor and manage the construction process to bring the work on time and in budget, and again, communication is the most important. Our approach is we will establish clear goals and a vision for the project. We'll select the right team and person specific for the job. In particular, I have lab experience with not only the multidisciplinary, I've done chemistry renovations at Columbia, I've done physics labs, high-tech, temperature-controlled type laboratories, and so in all those cases, in all those projects that I bring all the stakeholders together in order to solve the problems and finish a highly specialized project. We keep the big picture in mind while keeping track of the details. We coordinate the efforts of consultants to maximize performance and keep the work focused and schedule cost on target. Our methodology. You get the best team and provide the leadership needed to get the best performance. Provide hands-on management with regular team meetings and clear, timely communications. Look ahead to anticipate problem areas and take decisive corrective actions when needed. Manage for the highest quality from the beginning and provide the process management procedures to track and ensure the project comes on time and within budget. I will let Vicki finish up and conclude, and if you guys have any questions about my specific experience, I'd be happy to answer them. Vicki.
I'd just like to close by summing up some issues about why I think you should choose us. One, besides having an on-site project manager, all of our experience, all of our personnel is located 2 blocks away. I'm 2 blocks away. You know, if you need me over here or you need something, I'm 2 blocks away. I can respond immediately to whatever you may need. So therefore, I can, support, our entire staff can support the project manager and support your needs, I think, in a timely fashion. We also have a wealth of experience working here with the area stakeholders, with the city of Fort Worth, with different businesses in downtown, just all of the issues that come with trying to build in a downtown district. And we also have experience, we've been told who the construction managers and architects are that you've selected, and we have experience with all of them. We're currently working with Gilbane on a performing arts project in Richmond, Virginia right now, so we have experience with Gilbane and have a good working relationship with them, as well as Carter Burgess, Gideon Toll, and Thomas S. Burns. We have specific medical, laboratory, and highly technical project experience. That's, again, what we do, what we specialize in, what we love. We have a broad basis of industry experience, and we're specialists in the complex, high-tech, high-quality projects and working with design teams, high-level design teams and design architects. Again, what we want to do is be your partner. We want to be just a seamless extension of your team that you already have that are employees, and we just want to support and be sure that we provide the expertise that some of our projects would bring. Again, our issue is that we would custom tailor. We responded to the RFP in the way that it was written, but we would be happy to tailor our staffing plan in any way to provide whatever kind of help that we can assist the Tarrant County in. And we'd just love to do this project for you. It's an exciting project. It's in our home, and we'd like to do this project with you. So I'm happy to answer, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. I think I made my 15.
What dollar figure did you come up with on this one?
I think they're about maybe 50, they're about, well, just a second.
It was less than $1 million before you started adding the 10%.
Yeah, it's probably about 800,000. And I guess the question that I've got is, how are you going to save us money? I mean, it seems like we put the architects and we put the contractors together. And it used to be you'd hire an architect and they design the thing and then somebody would come in and build. And then they said, well, golly, you bring the builder in and he can tell you where the architect is getting a little dreamy versus a little realistic. And so now we bring the builder in early, and now we're injecting a third one into the mix. And so I'm trying, how are you going to show us that you're going to recover, or we're going to recover your fee as we go through this building process?
Well, I can certainly suggest to you, one is that you call our clients and ask them that question, but they will all tell you the same thing, is that we've done it every time.
Do you produce a report that says,
Well, yes, in part of our project management report, we'll talk about the cost savings ideas that we brought to the table. Again, it's a matter of, because of our wide volume of different kinds of projects, sometimes we come up with an idea for a museum that came off of some of the experience we had perhaps on a performing arts project that says, if we tried this, and like everybody's trying to kind of goes, oh, well, that's another idea that we hadn't thought about. The Performing Arts Project in Richmond, we weren't on the board probably 30 days when we made some suggestions about, we thought that there were some fees, not to offend anybody in the room, but some fees that were more than this type of project should be charged, and we suggested that we go and talk to the people and see what was in their scope or what they had thought, and we were able to save $900,000 in the fees that day. Just by doing that. But it's about the fact of, we've seen the projects, we know what they should cost, and trying to bring other ideas and other suggestions of how we can be more efficient and effective with the use of your funds.
So by that statement, do I hear you saying that you should be involved in the negotiation of the contracts with the architects and the contractors?
I don't know what stage you're in, so that's a little hard to answer. We generally are, yes, sir. So I don't know what stage you're in with them. You may be past that point, but we can certainly suggest that other ways that we can be more effective with your money. That's the whole goal, is to get you the most bang for your buck.
Vicki, I understand that you are a hub certified business by virtue of the fact that you are a woman.
Yes, sir.
Is there no ethnic diversity as a part of your group?
Well, we do employ. There's no ownership of a minority position other than mine. We just haven't had that opportunity. But we go out and search and develop MBE plans that would include us, to look as we go, if there's ways for us to look at how we spread the work for this project. And any of our other projects we have going on. We developed the MBE plan for several projects that are currently going on, because it's an important part of our community, and we need to be sure that we support it.
And you would do that in these instances?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The issue, when we talked initially about the RFP, to answer your question when we were talking, is that it was hard with what we were asked is to provide a person to divide that person up. And so at this point, we've proposed one per the RFP that we were requested to do, but we can certainly look at other opportunities. either through, if there's some costing that needs to be done or something else, we'll certainly look at that as to how we can divide even our package up. But every package we put out should be looked at.
As we get into the construction, it's very likely that you're going to have two projects going at the same time. How are you going to, what is your feeling with regards to, are you planning on one person overseeing both of those projects? Do you feel like you'll have someone that will need to be on site at both locations while construction is going on?
It could, and that's difficult till we really get in and understand. We've had an overview of where you are, but till we really understand that all the approvals are in place and that both projects are kicked off, because we're not quite far enough along to make that call, but if need be, yes, we can certainly put two people on there. That's not an issue.
Well, generally, when you're doing this type of work, do you have someone on site when construction is occurring?
Most of the time, yes. Again, it's understanding what the client's needs are and what the staffing requirements are, but the great part about being here is that we can augment and supplement on demand. That's the great part about being 2 blocks away. So the jail, certainly because of the size and complexity and some things like that, and there will certainly be certain times during the medical examiner's building that you'd want that. It's just a matter of how the schedule's running and how what needs to be done there versus at an office of, being sure that we have all the reports, pay applications, and other things done. So we can certainly work, again, to supplement the staff however it needs to be.
Other questions? Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Vicki, it's good to finally meet you.
You too, Mr. Brooks.
You've
Thank
got a
you.
very famous name in this town.
Thank you very much.
We've met. You do a lot of work for Ed Best, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
And for the stock show. So, thank you so much for your time.
Your Honor, we just simply ask that you score your sheets. I would like to remind you something that David did say is that on your rankings, your first choice should be number 1, and your second choice should be number 2 on your rankings.
That almost makes sense.
A whole lot more sense than what all these rankings have made in the past.
I came up with this. I came up with this. So
1 is 1, 2 is 2.
Glad you pointed that out.
I noticed you were leaving.
That's what I learned at TCU, 1 and 2, 2.
There being no further business, we are adjourned.
Was that 2 is 1 and 1 is 2? Now I'm confused.
Okay. Just read. Just hang on. They were real good.
When you make it simple, you get immediate results.
No, it's got me complicated now. I don't remember if 2 is 1 or 1 is 2.
Their initial process.